So, it's the end of yet another week, and here on this channel that means one thing and one thing only. Every weekend I post an episode of this series we do called Your Take Not Mine, where I turn to you the viewers to give me your hottest NBA takes of the week based on what's going on at the time, and I then choose my favorite submissions and discuss them in a video. This week was, well, once again pretty crazy and eventful, and it wasn't just because preseason games got underway, but also because of a scandal that took place in the defending champion practice facility, so we definitely still have plenty to discuss. In order to submit your takes, I make a community post on either the day of or the day before the video, similar to the one that you see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be featured in a future episode, be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing today comes to us from DaBrain, and he says that the Nets are the most overrated team in the NBA right now, and that he doesn't see why they should be any better than they were last season. The Nets, for good reason, went into last year viewed as one of the favorites to win it all, but when they had a whirlwind of a regular season that was filled with drama, it resulted with them barely sneaking into the playoffs at all, and then getting swept in the first round. Needless to say, they were one of the most disappointing teams in the NBA last season. Now, going into this season, it's hard not to still view the Nets highly because star power does go a long way, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are still two of the most productive players going when they're healthy and on the court. There's no more questions about Kyrie being able to play home games like there were last year, and Ben Simmons is making his return to the court, so there are actually reasons to be optimistic about them. In addition to that, the Nets made some pretty good underrated moves this offseason by trading for 3-and-D player Royce O'Neal and signing TJ Warren in free agency, who can be a spark plug scorer for them off the bench, who was scoring nearly 20 points per game the last time that he was healthy. In general though, the Nets do still have a lot of the same issues that they had last year, with the biggest one being their interior defense. Nicholas Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe are their only real big men, and neither are established rim protectors, as they are both young with promise, but they're both inconsistent and inexperienced, and teams will likely be able to feast inside against them. In general, I do agree that the Nets are a team we all need to actually see dominate before they get the benefit of the doubt again, because last season left such a sour taste in our mouths, but they do have firepower on paper. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Toasty, and he says that in the very near future, Draymond Green is going to be on the verge of being out of the league completely, battling for the last spot on teams on minimum contracts. Draymond's entire career to this point has been unorthodox, as he's made a name for himself on the defensive side of the ball, while also being an integral part of the Warriors' offense in terms of his creation, screen setting, and movement, but he's never been a very good shooter or overall scorer of the ball, and the debate has raged on for years about whether or not he should be considered a star or a role player. On top of that, his outspokenness has been one of the biggest reasons why he's become a leader on the team, but it has also rubbed a lot of people the wrong way over the years, and his antics have come under scrutiny a ton. Needless to say, all of this has led us to the moment that happened this week when Draymond got into a fight with teammate Jordan Poole in practice, where video leaked of him absolutely rocking Poole in the face, and this is pretty serious for a couple of reasons. For one, it's obviously going to affect the way that he's viewed in the locker room moving forward. Second of all, Draymond has this season and then next season left on his contract, with next year being a player option, and he's already spoken about how he wants to sign another max contract, which now becomes a lot less likely. After what just happened, why would any team want to give you that much money when you now have locker room issues on top of the fact that you're getting up there in age and your play is declining? I think his reputation absolutely just took a big hit. However, his play on the court will ultimately decide how the rest of his career goes, because second chances are always given to those who make it worth it for teams on the court. The next take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Lace Up, and he says that the Mavericks will end up missing the playoffs this season because of guys like Dinwiddie and Hardaway not being enough help for Luka, and Christian Wood throwing off their defensive rhythm that they built last season. The Mavericks entered this offseason with all of the momentum in the world, as they just made an improbable run to the conference finals by beating the team with the best record in the league on their way there. Luka Doncic proved yet again that he is him in big moments, and they somehow managed to have one of the more underwhelming off seasons of the summer. Jalen Brunson left the team in free agency after emerging in a massive way last year, but they did trade for Christian Wood, who has posted impressive numbers in his time in Houston, averaging over 20 points 2 seasons ago and grabbing around 10 rebounds each season. The issue, though, that will be interesting to monitor with him in a new situation is the fact that Wood was ranked as one of the worst interior defenders in the NBA last season, and the Mavericks' big leap was made because of their defensive improvement. The reason that I strongly disagree with this take that we're discussing, though, is because Luka Doncic is just too damn good to let the Mavericks fall that far. On top of that, the team has said that Christian Wood will be their sixth man coming off the bench in order to maintain that defense, and his impact against second units will probably be unfair at times. It may be disappointing to see the Mavericks not necessarily get aggressive in the offseason in order to improve in a big way, but they will absolutely be a lock for the playoffs this season. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Doom, and he says that this year's draft will have the best combination of the top 2 picks ever. This take is referring to Victor Wembanyama from France and Scoot Henderson playing for G League Ignite, who actually faced off against each other twice this week, and those matchups lived up to the hype and more. Wembanyama is a 7'4" unicorn who already looks like an elite shot-blocking rim protector who on offense can run the floor, finish high above the rim, create off the dribble, and knock down threes both by spotting up and by going off the move, which is something I don't think we've ever seen before. I promise that I'm not exaggerating when I say that some NBA scouts are already labeling Wembanyama as the best prospect the NBA has ever seen, and while I still believe that title goes to LeBron James, it's honestly not that far off. Now, keep in mind I'm saying he has this title as a prospect, not a player, meaning this is how good he is before he's drafted and what he's projected to be. Then, on the flip side, Scoot Henderson is a guard with the kind of skill set that would have had him in the race to be the #1 pick in a ton of the more recent drafts, as a guard with explosive athleticism, a crisp handle, a smooth mid-range game where he confidently pulls up for and knocks down jumpers, and a competitive drive that coaches love. There have been a lot of really good top 2 pick combinations in the NBA's draft history, so I'm not going to go as far as to say that they'll be the best ever right now, but I feel really good about saying that they could end up as one of the best top 2-0s that ever plays when it's all said and done. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the takes we discussed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.